All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense begins right now on a Friday for you. Greg's favorite day of the week. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing down there, man?
I'm doing pretty good because it is a Friday.
Big tornadoes rolling across the Midwest. My wife and I were watching them late yesterday evening. Did you get any of that nasty stuff?
We're getting random storms all this week and just seeing ugly clouds all over. So it is blowing through here, but we haven't had any tornadoes.
Yeah, they had multiple cameras up on that yesterday with some big storms moving through Oklahoma.
Yeah, no doubt.
Several big tornadoes moving through Oklahoma. But it happens at this time of year. It's nice here. Just keep them away from me, okay? I would appreciate that. Thanks much.
Springtime in Tornado Alley.
Yeah, thanks much. Dixie Alley, we call it down here, right? Yeah,
All right,
Dixie Alley.
all right.
So keep them away from us. We would appreciate it greatly. Hey, guys, welcome in. Yeah, right, CZ Studios. Guys, you can watch us on Facebook.com/ArmedAmericanRadio. And, Greg, I'll let you do your thing, and we'll go to Paul Markle. We have a lot to cover. I want to pick up on my live segment from yesterday and go in about 3 or 4 different directions today. And that's really going to be a flavor of where we're going to go on Sunday, too, but in greater detail with a guest lineup. So take it away, brother. We'll get rolling.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can head over to X and watch us at AAR Mark. You can also head over to the website, armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon and select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, if you'd like to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversation.
Right on. That'll do it. Those of you that like to watch the show, some of you are pretty astute out there. Sitting behind me there is a brand new Les Paul Jr. with the P90 dog ear pickup on it. Greg, the amplifier. Now, I know Paul's listening. I can see him over there. He was playing his guitar before we bring him on stage while we were waiting to come on. And I've got a Marshall amp over here that is just, the tubes are just as hot as the Florida sun, bro.
Oh.
And the volume is turned down right now because, well, I wouldn't be able to hear anything in here, but that thing screams, and it is crazy. Maybe I'll rip a little bit during a break. Let's go over to Paul Markle, student of the gun, SOTGU.com. Paul, how you doing, my brother? It's great to have you here, man.
Oh, I'm just fantastic.
Getting better every day. You look relaxed. You sound relaxed. We've got a lot to cover with you. So what was the instrument you were strumming just a few moments ago off the screen?
Oh, this is my my Yamaha bass.
Oh, you were doing the bass action, huh?
Yeah, I was doing some bass action. I got to do some bass action, keep my fingers nimble.
Yeah, well, it works. There's no question about it. My fingertips are bleeding after picking up this new Junior yesterday. Traded in 2 PRS guitars for it. Even swap, plus a $25 credit, and a huge shout-out to the guys over at Righteous Guitars, man. If you guys know who they are, make sure to look them up online. That's a shop that, that place has got it going on. Professionals, man, all the way around. Paul, let's talk first about where you weren't, because you weren't at the NRA. You were missed. A lot of people asked about you. A lot of people came up to our booth, were talking to us and said, hey, is Paul going to be here? I think I heard on the show that he wasn't going to be here, but I'm not sure. You didn't make it to the show. It was a good one. A little bit light, I think, in attendance. I have not seen the numbers yet, but the show itself, the people that were there, with the exception of the man who knows who he is that likely listens to the program that stole my T-shirts. I know, guy. I know you did it. Okay? And by the way, we found out you're on video, too. We're going to find that guy. But, Paul, you were missed there, brother, at the NRA convention. You really were.
Yeah, so, well, I was training Patriots in the Marshall application of rifles last weekend.
So I can't blame you for that.
And
I
was
knew
on
that.
the range all day Saturday and all day Sunday.
And how'd the training session go? Good? Was it a packed house?
Oh, fantastic. Had a magnificent group of students, and they were all studs. So it was good. All good.
I've got a story we're going to cover with you right now. I don't know if you knew this. I picked this up today, earlier when I was talking with AAR Hawkins. And, Greg, you're going to love this. I know, Greg, bring your mic in if you would. I'd like your commentary on this. Trump DOJ bringing back firing squads for federal executions. Have you seen this one, Paul?
No, but sweet.
Yeah, no, but sweet. Greg, do you want to comment? I mean, come on.
I mean, as soon as we get the tribunals going, I am all for pay-per-view action on this kind of a deal too. Because oh boy,
yeah, I want to get some more details on it. So let's go into AWR's piece and find out what we can find out about what is actually happening here. But on Friday, President Trump's Department of Justice issued a memo making clear it will renew the use of firing squads in federal death penalty cases. The memo, which said today the Department of Justice acted to restore its solemn duty to seek, obtain, and implement lawful capital sentences, clearing the way for the department to carry out executions once death-sentenced inmates have exhausted their appeals. And that memo also said, Paul, Greg, and listeners, among the actions taken are readopting the lethal injection protocol utilized during the first Trump administration, expanding the protocol to include additional manners of execution, such as the firing squad, and streamlining internal processes to expedite death penalty cases. CNN is reporting, guys, that the squads are currently approved for use in executions in 5 states, which we've talked about here before. And those 5 states are Mississippi, Utah, Oklahoma, Idaho, and South Carolina. What was just recently used in South Carolina, and I believe Utah, Paul, and South Carolina have been the only 2 that have actively used it that I'm aware of, unless you know any different, even though it might be protocol.
It seems like there was a case recently where a guy, was a weird thing where they're like, let him request which one he wanted.
Yeah.
He picked death by firing squad.
I believe that was the South Carolina case I'm thinking of. I believe that was South Carolina.
Yeah.
But
something that you and we should realize, and the great one used to talk about this all the time, about how the federal death penalty has been essentially a joke.
Yeah, for many, many
because
decades.
People get they get the quote federal offense death penalty for whatever, and then they languish on death row for 27 years, and they die of old age before it's like, what's the purpose of, and like I said, the great one, he used to talk about, he said, people like, oh, well, the death penalty it doesn't work because it's not a deterrent. He said it's not a deterrent because people know when they're, quote, given the death penalty that they still got another 25 years to hang around making appeals.
Well, under a Democrat administration,
it's not effective.
It's the rest of their lives because it's never implemented.
They gave Charles Manson got the death penalty, and before they could execute him, they changed their minds and overturned it. And then every 2 years, he was up for parole. You want to talk about an upside-down justice system? You give someone the death penalty for heinous, horrible crimes, and then 15 years later, they're standing before a parole board.
Yeah,
they're not even supposed to be alive. That just, people say, well, it's not effective. Yeah, it's not effective because we don't apply it.
Well, it's not a deterrent if nobody can use it. Okay. Or they don't use it. Just having it is a joke. California is a joke. Now, I have a sad anecdote here, sad story relative to California's death penalty, but a very, very close friend of mine, very close friend, 30-plus year friend of mine. He and I talk just about every day. His sister was murdered in the early 80s by a notorious California serial killer whose first name was John. I forget his last name, but he just died languishing on death row in California since the late 80s. And, his family went through hell and back from the time his sister was murdered. I know the whole family, know the father, everybody. And it was a real shame, but every year they would make sure to call the California AG's office and others every single year to push consistently for the implementation of that penalty. Now, we know California goes in one commie ear and out the other commie ear, and they're not going to do anything about it. Was justice ever served in that case in my buddy's sister's murder? No, not really, because the penalty was never carried out. He was given the death sentence. Yes, he died in prison. He never got out. He languished there for 40-plus years, but the actual sentence itself was never carried out, Paul. And to me, that's not justice, brother, is it?
Well, and we're sticking with taxpayers with the bill for keeping these scumbags alive to the tune of what? You put them in a max security, and it's $60,000 to $90,000 a year that the taxpayers are stuck paying.
30.
A 30-06 cartridge costs like $1.50.
Yeah, and by God, ladies and gentlemen, you can get justice with the squeeze of a trigger. It's pretty much that simple. But California will never do it. The Trump administration will. And I've made this clear on this program before. I'm all for bringing back public executions. As far as I'm concerned, let the people see the sentence carried out. That used to happen in this country, and the last one did happen early in the 20th century was the last one that we've seen in this country. So it had happened here. We'll talk about a deterrent. Ladies and gentlemen, it works. It works. We're wimps nowadays. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Paul Markel. Yesterday in my live segment, I spoke a little bit briefly about Connecticut. I want to go to Connecticut in just a minute after we get some thoughts on Virginia and what happened with the court victory so far in Virginia. We'll bring it all back with Paul right after the break. Yeah, welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Walters here in the CZ studios, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. Welcome back in. And now I will ask you to please visit all of our great partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com, armedamericanradio.com, including the National Rifle Association, nra.org/AAR, nra.org/AAR. We have some announcements on new partners coming up next week as well. In addition to that, you can find Bud's Gun Shop. They have everything you need, and you want and need everything that they have. Tons of specials going on at Bud's Gun Shop on all the accessories. They've got it over 5 million customers. You can become one of them also. So please visit armedamericanradio.com and check out all of our great partners. They're all there for you, waiting for you to support them for supporting this show and your right to keep and bear arms. Paul Markle, student of the gun, welcome back. During the break, I was able to find the information on the murderer of my buddy's sister. Let me read this to you because, guys, this is painful stuff. A very, very close friend of mine. Sully's next victim was 20. His name was Anthony Sully. He was a former police officer in California. Sully's next victim was 22-year-old Barbara. I'll leave her last name out of it. An ex-girlfriend. In August 1983, he called her with an offer to meet and give her financial assistance, to which she agreed. She was 22 years old, 1 year younger than my daughter. After she entered the hangar, she was shot in the back of the head with his revolver. Soon after, Sully gave all of her clothes and personal belongings to Livingston, who became a victim as well, as payment for the latter to go into her apartment, and erased the message left on her answering machine telling her to come over to his place. But she was unable to enter the apartment. Sully then wrapped up my buddy's sister's body in transparent plastic sheets, and with her help, Livingston roped the body to his car, dragging it alongside Woodside, and dumped it near the Pulgus Water Temple, where it was discovered on August 18th. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a very close friend of mine's younger sister, that older sister, that he never got to spend any time with as a result of this scumbag who had to die in prison because California will not enforce the death penalty, which they have on the books. So I wanted to throw that out there. This kind of stuff hits close to home, but at least he's dead and rotting where he belongs. He was also a former police officer, by the way. I want to point that out. All right, Paul, let's talk briefly about Virginia and what they've done there. And, of course, the referendum to change the redistricting passed by less than 2% margin in the state of Virginia. Clearly not a huge majority to give them 2/3 Democrat rule of the state until 2030 and hopefully permanently beyond, which is what the Democrats' ultimate goal here is. Now, having said that, Tim Kaine and Senator Warner, both Democrats from Virginia, have introduced the Virginia Gun Control Act to the United States Senate because they now want what happened in Virginia to be happening to you in all 50 states. Paul, are you shocked that they would do something like that? This quick? The arrogance is astonishing.
No, not at all. Something that we just, I don't understand when we're going to get over it, but I guess we're still in that position where we don't believe that it's like we talked about
that it's real,
ago.
That they'll do it.
We're always on the defensive. We always wait to react until we're attacked. You know, we're never, our side is, it seems like we're never proactive. And, we wait until we're attacked. And then we say, oh, we have to do something. Like, yeah, no kidding. What did you think was going to happen? It's like trying to pet a rabid dog, and then it bites you, and you act surprised. Like, what did you think the rabid dog was going to do?
How do you get proactive?
Going to be rabid?
How do you get proactive against something like this? And I'm asking, not rhetorically, sincere question here, because this happens so quick. How do we get proactive?
One of the biggest problems that we have on our side is that we play this we don't like politics game, right? And you hear this from there's other shows out there, whether they're podcasts or whatever, and they try to appeal to their audience by saying things like, all guns, no politics, right. No politics here, burp, burp, burp. Okay, cool story, bro. But here's the deal. Guns are politics. Yes. And the other side is never going to stop wanting to disarm you. Your desire to pretend that you don't want to be involved does not protect you. And that's what we do. We get involved when our favorite guy is running for president or whatever. And then they win, and then we check out. We check out and we decide we're going to be disinterested now. We don't care anymore. Derp, 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 whatever. And then we come back 4 years later and we're like, oh man, look at what the other side's trying to do.
Yeah. We act shocked.
Kidding. They don't ever check out.
We know they're going to do these things. They tell us they're going to do these things. And pox on us and shame on us for not paying attention, because we do know. What has fascinated me about Virginia, and I had a conversation with Alan Gottlieb about this last night. He said, did Virginia really happen? As it was as quick as we think it is? Did it really take 20 years creep in California? Alan took issue with that with me, and he says, no, he said, I would disagree with you. He said, it's been in place for 20 plus years. But when it happened overnight like it did in Virginia. So Alan is probably right about that. Who am I to go back and talk to the man who's been fighting it for the last 50 years in court? So I will defer to Alan's wisdom on that. I'm viewing it from a little bit different perspective, a little bit younger, having seen more of the creep over the years. Alan witnessed it in the business firsthand happen overnight. So what happened in Virginia, according to him, is not as fast, or California, it happened just as quick as it did in Virginia. But here we are in this new world, being able to look at this and see it for the first time in many, many years. Warner and Kane have introduced the worst gun control bill this nation has ever seen. Now, let's talk about the politics. You brought that up. Great point. We've talked about this on the program before over the years, ladies and gentlemen. It's part of what we decided to do with this show 17 years ago. Coming up Sunday, by the way, is our actual 17th anniversary, Greg, April 26th, 2009, April 26th, 2026. So it hits on the exact date this go around. But we've mentioned before that you cannot separate the two, Paul. The other side won't let you. They're always going to politicize your rights, not just guns, but in this case, for the purpose of our conversation, guns. We cannot fail to accept that. And I think when we don't accept it is we find ourselves in the positions that you were just talking about, because we don't want to think of it that way.
Yeah, it's really childish behavior. It's very immature mental behavior when you're like, well, I don't need to talk about politics, like they have this disdain for it. Or they say those words and they believe that it elevates them to a different level, right? I'm above politics. Well, that's cool, but politics aren't above you.
That's right. Well said.
And your desire to not talk about it is not going to protect you. And we see and we hear this all the time from people that are ostensibly on our side. We're like, yeah, well, I don't follow this guy because he talks about politics. I'm like, I just want to talk about guns. So you just want to talk about toys,
which we all love to talk about, but that's a lot. That's naivety, is what it is. Okay. When we come back,
and
keep your finger up.
We've been saying.
Keep your finger up. When we come back from the break, we're going to go to Paul. What have we been saying with his finger up? We'll see how long he can hold the pose. We'll be back with Paul Markle, student of the gun, right after this. Let him continue. Indeed. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day with the great Paul Markle, student of the gun. That is SOTGU.com. Paul still has his finger up. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, because I can see him when he's off camera, that he did bring the finger down, and he did play with his base a little bit. And he does what you're supposed to do, takes a break. But, Paul, I want to go right back to you. But first, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Patriot mobile phone that I have right here in my hands. PatriotMobile.com/AAR. We will have a representative from Patriot Mobile on the phone with us 1 week from yesterday, in 6 days on Thursday next week on the Daily Defense. They had a big booth over there at the National Rifle Association. And those other three competitor companies of theirs that we really don't like to name because it's not fair, that would be T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, did not have booths there because they don't show up at pro-gun conventions around the country like Patriot Mobile does. That right there is enough reason for you to diss them and join Patriot like I did. PatriotMobile.com/AAR, and take advantage of these great companies that support our right to keep and bear arms. Paul, you still put your finger back up? And Paul, go right ahead, take it away.
Well, you say, well, what should we do? What can we do? What do you expect people to do? Well, number one, you need to change your mindset. And when someone says, well, I don't want to talk about politics, I want to talk about guns. Okay, then you're talking about toys. You're not talking about instruments of liberty. If you're holding a rifle, that's one of the most important classes that we actually teach is the rifle class, because that is the ultimate instrument of liberty. Tyrannical governments throughout the entire history of the world have feared men with arms. And in the modern world, they fear citizens with rifles. It's just truth. And we know it's truth because what's the first thing they attempt to do?
Assault weapons ban, quote unquote assault weapons ban. Now in Virginia, assault firearm.
Take it away from you.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't fear it, they wouldn't want to take it away from you. So when you look at a firearm, rather than thinking, your mindset needs to be first and foremost, this thing is an instrument of liberty, and if you consider it to be an instrument of liberty, not a sporting goods implement that you look at like it's a 9-iron or a driver or a baseball bat or whatever, if you look at that and you're like, this is an instrument of liberty and somebody wants to take it away from me, ergo, they're desirous of taking away my liberty. That is mindset. And it galls me when I still encounter it occasionally, this, oh, I don't want to talk about politics. I want to talk about, this and that. It's like, okay, cool. But the other side is not taking a break.
No, ever. By the way, they'll never stop.
The other side is never going to take a break.
That's right.
And whether you're paying attention or not, we do this all the time. We vote for our guy. Our guy wins. We get all excited. And then we say, all right, we're good. We can stop paying attention now. Everything will be fine. And I'll come back in 4 years and see what's going on.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what leads us to a Virginia. Now, having said that, wanting to take your guns, a perfect place to segue to Connecticut, which I mentioned briefly yesterday in my live segment before running out of time. And a lot of this will come up with different perspective on the Sunday program coming up in just a couple of days. Connecticut Democrat wants to ban guns that can be converted into semi or fully automated weapons. Now, again, go back to what you just heard from Paul, and here comes my famous question for years. Paul's picked up on it. We talk about it forever. What is it about their agenda that requires your disarmament? You have got to think about it in these terms. Whether you want to believe it or not, they've politicized it, period. It just is what they go hand in hand. You cannot separate the two. If you try, you are remiss in your duties. It's that simple. This is Connecticut State Rep Bob Godfrey. He's a Democrat, of course, speaking in favor of banning firearms that are, quote, too easily converted into semi or even fully automated weapons. And he's defending the quote unquote. Yeah, hold tight. Let me finish this, and I want to let you take it away because now you have four fingers up on both hands. The convertible pistol ban, aka the Glock ban, which the Connecticut House, ladies and gentlemen, just passed on Wednesday, and the vote passed 86 to 64. You see the way this is now steamrolling across the country. So when we tell you that you have to stop what's happening in Virginia right now, this is how it moves to you. This is how it does it. California instituted a Glock ban. Here come all the other Democrats behind it. Let's do it. Virginia's doing what they're doing. Now their two senators are trying to bring it to the nation on steroids. And Connecticut is now moving to do what other Democrat states, notably California and a couple others, with their quote-unquote Glock brands because they're convertible into semi-auto. The guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. Paul, go ahead.
So I need confirmation. Does it actually say converted into semi-auto? Are those words in that statement?
I am quoting him. Let me re-quote Connecticut State Rep Bob Godfrey. He is speaking in favor of banning firearms that are, and I quote, too easily converted into semi or even fully automated weapons. He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
He doesn't even know what he's talking about. That's like that retired general that got on with the CNN and said, "You see this? This is actually more dangerous."
Local said the same thing.
Or that I was issued because this is a fully semi-automatic.
Fully semi-automatic, right? Yeah.
We're allowing people to make policy that would be like, nothing against high school janitors, but that would be like you need brain surgery, so they bring in the high school janitor to consult on your brain surgery operation. You're like, hey, what do you think? I don't know anything about that, but I know people have brains in their heads, and so yeah, it's like, well, I know that guns exist and they're bad, and we shouldn't have them, and so, dude. And here's the crazy thing, though, is you and I are aware of the FBI's or the ATF, I'm sorry, the AFT, their loss of the lawsuit regarding force reset triggers. Mm-hmm. And what I think is just amazing is that their force reset triggers are so over the top now. I'm seeing ads for them on Instagram and Facebook. And you're like, what? That can't possibly be. No, it's happening. That's how many. So the genie is out of the bottle. It's like way out of the bottle when it comes to something like that. But we've got to smash this between, Firearms Policy Coalition and, you name it, all the Second Amendment Foundation,
NRA, all of them.
We have to destroy this. We have to destroy this stuff because let's face facts. And I know there's some people out there like, well, I'm a SIG guy and I don't care what they do with the Glock pistol. It's like,
you better.
Almost all of the old school pistols have been made, even if it was experimental, in full auto versions. Mm-hmm. I mean, there were experimental full auto 1911 versions. There was a select. Actually, it's one of the coolest guns out there. The Beretta M9 was actually the 93, which had a 3-round burst option, which is so cool.
It is cool.
You remember Mac Bolan?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Enforcer. Mm-hmm. I read the Mac Bolan novels when I was a young man, and I remember one of the novels featured the Beretta 93 machine pistol, and I thought, man, that's the coolest thing.
Let's
Let's go back to
Look, I ought to be able to buy that
Maxim,
thing out of a vending machine as a law-abiding citizen.
That's, you know,
As a citizen.
we have certain states that are like, yeah, the Constitution means what it says, and then you have these. It's like we're living in different countries. It's like almost like
We are.
I don't know, Cold War era Europe, where we had the free countries versus the communist countries.
Yeah, that's what it's like between blue and red. When we come back from this break, Paul, I'm going to take you to what the Connecticut Mirror said and quote Godfrey even further in the state of Connecticut as he tries to define what it is. We're getting cut by the break now. What it was we were just talking about. We'll go into a little. He tries to define it even better. Here's an idiot trying to define something he doesn't even know what he's talking about. We'll have some fun at his moronic expense. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. You heard the Attorneys on Retainer. Rejoin there. Attorneys on Retainer. Here is my card. Attorneys on Retainer, AOR. That is attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. Have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? Just get off your duffs and do it. Put the attorneys in your pocket. You still have, I believe it runs through today. You'll find it on the website. But they ran that NRA special for a week following the convention. Today's, if it's still running, today's the last day, folks. So get out and take advantage and save $50 on that sign-up fee over there and get an attorney in your pocket for $37 a month. Every single one of my family members has this. You should too, because you can't really carry an attorney with you, but you can in the form of this card. So if you carry a gun, make sure you have an attorney. Also, make sure to visit all of our great partners. I'm going to ask you again to join Virginia Citizens Defense League. There is huge power in numbers. We are seeing that play out in real time. It's why we want another million members at the NRA. It's why we want thousands of more members at VCDL, Second Amendment Foundation, whatever group it is. Please join them. VCDL is only $25. This is the tip of the spear where we have a really, really, really good, solid chance of ending this nonsense right now, by stopping it in Virginia in its tracks, getting the Supreme Court off their duffs, and putting an end to this nonsense. We can stop it in Connecticut and other states where it will come to if we don't. VCDL.org. Make sure to check out all of our other great partners, including Daniel Defense. Make sure to check them all out. They're all there for you. POGauctions.com. Make sure to visit them, POGauctions.com, and join the Citizens Committee for the right to keep and bear arms. We will have another giveaway, and we will be announcing the winner coming up at the very end of this month. Might even do it Sunday or Monday or Tuesday of the rifle package, the Ruger Precision Rifle Package. We'll have that information for you by the weekend. So hopefully we'll do that Sunday, maybe Monday or Tuesday. But either way, we'll get that out of the way for you, and hopefully you, listener, won it, because one of you is going to. Paul Markle, student of the gun, welcome back. Let me take you briefly back to Connecticut and quote from the Connecticut Mirror, this idiot, this Godfrey. And the Mirror is noting that he defended the bill as it moved through the House, admitting, Paul, that Connecticut citizens do in fact have a right to own firearms for self-defense. But he hedged that admission by saying the state's legislature has the ability to define which firearms constitute defensive weapons. They do not get to define that, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see to it that he learns a very valuable lesson. Bill Lawrence in a chat mentions the 11th Circuit just ruled that machine guns aren't covered by the 2A. What the hell? Bill, I see your comment in there. I'll look into that and get back with you. Hopefully we'll be talking a little bit about that. That might come up with AWR Hawkins coming up on Sunday's broadcast. Paul, it just never stops, and it actually gets better, because Godfrey favored banning Glock clones, and other pistols described by the Connecticut legislation as convertible. He said, we're just saying you can't have manufacturers of these guns bring them into the state if they're too easily converted into semi or even fully automated weapons. AWR points out that he did not define fully automated weapons. And it gets even better, because they claim, and I quote, this is the state banning handguns with cruciform trigger bars, and whether the state Supreme Court would approve such a law, he warned that, get this, Paul, machine guns are already illegal in all 50 states. They are not illegal. Where do they get this information? And why doesn't the Connecticut Mirror, this is philosophical, call him on that? Because they themselves don't know the truth.
No. That's like when the idiot meat puppet went out and said, you can't own a cannon in America.
Except you can.
Like, what are you talking about? Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. Thousands of people own cannons. Like, you say, you can't own a machine gun in America.
Yes, you can.
You can. And you know, that goes back to, even as evil as the government was in 1934, they still knew that what they were proposing, the NFA violated the Constitution, mm-hmm. and they knew it. They absolutely knew it, and that is why they played this taxation game thing. They're like, oh, we're not making it illegal because that would violate the Second Amendment. We're just going to make it so that you have to pay a tax and apply for a permission slip for a, quote, tax stamp, because that's what, you know, the tax stamp is a permission slip. But even they knew that they couldn't just do a sweeping machine gun ban or short barrel rifles or whatever, because it violated the Constitution. And so their workaround was the tax stamp, because the Supreme Court said, well, the government has the authority to tax anything it wants to tax, right? So they're like, this is just a tax. It's not a ban. If you can come up with the cash, you can have it, right? Fill out the paperwork, you can do it. And so on one hand, we've got these just elected morons who don't even know what they're talking about. You know, they're like, it's too easy. It's like, okay, under current law, it is illegal for a person to take a Glock and add a Glock switch to it. Of course, that's not stopping any of the gangbangers.
Correct.
Which we know, which you know, I'm in my book. Can I quote my book?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Examining the Armed Citizen. I pointed it out. I did a whole chapter on it. Terrorists and criminals are the Democrats, the tyrants' best friend, because they are the excuse for all of the legislation. Like, oh, look at these gang members. They're converting their Glocks to full auto. We have to make them illegal. Explain to me what your plan is to disarm gang members, because it hasn't been working up to this point.
No, and it's not going to. And I want to give a shout out here to a Republican in Connecticut by the name of, let's see, his last name is Howard. His name is Representative Greg Howard, Stonington. He's a Republican. And Craig Fishbein, Republican from Wallingford, objected to the bill. All Republicans, by the way, in Connecticut voted against this bill. So let's give a shout out where it's due during the floor debate. And he said, I'm opposed to public policy that says we are going to make it illegal for a law-abiding citizen to possess an otherwise legal piece of equipment because they might be able to take that series of moving parts and turn it into something else. Fishbein went further, saying that other legal items, such as pool chemicals, could also become deadly if used inappropriately. Year after year, we see the legislature here attacking guns and not attacking criminals. Howard went even further, talking about how for as long as human ingenuity is going to exist, and as long as 3D printers exist, as long as we have physics, somebody somewhere is going to find a way to manufacture, design something that can overcome the reset cycle of a pistol and make it fully automatic. And other Republicans chimed in as well. So it's good to see that support from Republicans, every single one of them in Connecticut. Paul, we have to cut it there. You have 30 seconds. Tell people where they can go get all your cool stuff. Take us to the break.
All right. I would love it if you went to SOTGU, studentofthegununiversity.com, and sign up for one of our training courses. You can sign up for online distance learning right now. Save 15% when you use the promo code AAR.
It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. AAR at SOTGU.com. We're going to go ahead and cut the live stream now. Those of you listening on the radio, we love you. We'll be still